Hey there YouTube, welcome back to the shop. Today we have a little bit of a lesser fun project to do. It's not going to be installing accessories or installing chrome parts, but we have a couple broken bolts that are in the frame. So we're going to need to be getting those out, and I'll show you a couple tools that I use that make it a little bit easier, and just kind of my process about it. I start off with removing anything that I need to be able to get a good area of access to, the broken bolt. So in this situation, we just remove the exhaust system. And drilling out broken bolts is one of those things where you need to start off strong and, set yourself up for success. So I'm going to show you a couple tools that are in my toolbox, and we're going to grab the correct ones that I like to use for this job. I like buying small drill bits in bulk. That way, if they start getting dull, I just toss them in the trash and I go and grab the next bit. I have 1/16 for super tiny stuff. I very rarely use them. And more commonly, I use a 1/8 size, which is a super common size. But I'll put a link down in the description just for a link to Amazon. These are excellent. These are drill and tap guides, and they really help you to hold a drill bit or a tap at 90 degrees. And then they have like a little V shape on the bottom of it so that you can work around like if it has like a rounded contour to it. I usually try to clamp them to the side of the bike, but it makes it difficult because everything's like rounded on motorcycles. But you'll see that later on. This is going to be the extractor set I'm going to be using. It's from Rigid. It's an awesome set. I love it. I can't recommend it enough. I'm actually pretty new to this style. I've always used like tapered style extractors before, and they're terrible. This is the best set I've ever used. I'll give you kind of a little demonstration on how I use it, but it also comes with its own drill guides. So if broken bolt is down in a hole, it makes it a lot easier to get to. Shop Stuff is a penetrating oil that I use. I've been using the same can for probably the last 6 months. A little bit goes a long ways, and it's the best stuff I've ever used. I've used Kroll, Blaster, WD-40, Liquid Wrench, transmission fluid. I've used so many different products, and none of them stand up to the way that the Shop Stuff, like, it's insane. You'll spray it on like a rusty bolt, and you'll see the rust like just drip off of it. It soaks into rusty, corroded hardware quickly. I really recommend it. This again is just an inexpensive set of end mills I have from Amazon. I use them in through the drill guides just to help level off any type of like uneven surface on a broken bolt. That way I'm able to center punch the bolt and get a drill bit to start nice and true and straight. Again, I'll put a link down in the description. Here I have a set of left-handed drill bits with associated extractors. These tapered styles are terrible because once you actually drill a hole in a bolt, the tapered style has hardly any grip, and then it just blows out the end, and it's just a nightmare. That's where the Rigid kit really comes into play. We also have a tap set. We shouldn't be needing it. And then we also have a thread chaser set. We're going to take that just to go through the bolt hole once we extract the bolt to make sure that there aren't any chips or damage to the threads and that everything's all good and cleaned up and perfect. We're also going to need a center punch and a hammer. So this is just my hammer center punch drawer. This is a 4-pound like little mini sledgehammer. Works really good, pretty straightforward. And then I have various punches like pin punches, tapered punches, and then I guess I don't know the correct name for this, but it's a center point type of punch. So we're just going to use that to get a good spot for the drill to start. Here we have all the tools laid out that we're going to be using. We have a good flashlight, the Shop Stuff. I sprayed on, I let it sit on there about 20 minutes before we started. The hammer, the center punch chisel. We got a C-clamp. We're going to see if that'll hold the V-block on. It usually doesn't, but I always try it. There we have the tap guide, the drill guide, our end mill, our 1/8 inch Amazon drill bits, the Rigid extractor set, just a normal drill, and then a good type of solvent. We have an alcohol-based cleaner, and I got this can with this little nozzle in it, so I can go through and clean out all the threads with good old brake clean. Both of our bolts are broken off slightly below the mounting flange face, which is good because that means our V-block is going to line up without a problem. But if it weren't, and the bolt was kind of protruding from the top, then we'd have to file it down or flatten it off. But that's not the case. So we're just going to line it up by eye. We're going to use a smaller end mill than the diameter of the bolt. That way we don't have to worry about like walking off the face of it. And we're going to speed up just while I get all of this lined up and we get the nice flat depressions in the face of the bolt with the end mill. And then we'll come back and start drilling them out. I'm a little OCD about things, so I like to go slow and double check and recheck and check again. So that's where I just kind of pull the drill guide off, look to make sure that I'm somewhere near the center of the bolt. Because even though like once the foot peg goes back on here, you'll never see if like the end mill like chatters across the face of it. I guess I'll know. So I'm a little OCD about things, so that's where I spend a little more time with stuff. But in the end, I guess, as long as it works out, it works out. Here I have the center punch out, and I'm trying to get a perfect dead center in the middle of the bolt. I do have an automatic center punch for other type of modification or marking purposes. But for this procedure, we want to get as dead nuts center on the bolt as we can. Because if we have to go larger than an 1/8 inch, up to like the next size drill bit, then I want to make sure that in the future I will have equal meat all the way around and that I won't risk like drilling into a thread or damaging something like that. So we go back, double check, get a good center punch, and then I'm just making a little pilot mark with my drill bit. Again, just verifying that it's as much on the center as possible before I get the drill guide up there. Same thing, just going back and forth, double check and recheck. everything's going well with drilling the center of this bolt out, but I can tell that we're getting towards the end of it. The drill bit starts feeling a little bit different, and I'm not just going wide open. I'm going a very comfortable speed, but since I'm getting towards the end of the drill bit, I'm coming down in speed, and also that's going to be down in torque on the drill, so that as it goes to punch through the end of the bit or the end of the bolt, that if it tries to clog up or stop the drill bit instantly, that it doesn't break the drill bit. And then obviously you want to make sure that you either are working on a bolt that has clear access to the back of it, or if it's a blind hold bolt, then you'd want to measure out, how deep the drill bit's supposed to go. But I was just making sure that there wasn't any type of engine case or anything back there that once the drill bit pops out of the end of the bolt, that we aren't going to damage everything. Everything's looking good. But I can just feel like through the drill that it's slightly different, a different feeling than like when we started or through the first like 3/8 of the bolt. So we're just kind of going slow, clearing the drill bit and waiting for it to punch through. And that was it. Thankfully we had the drill going just slow enough. I could feel that the bit had just punched through the end of the bolt and it stopped the drill. So since we were being careful, everything went well. So then I went through and I cleaned out the center of the bolt with just our brake cleaner, because we want to make sure that we get any type of penetrating oil or grease or anything out of there, so that when we pound in our extractor, it has the best positive fit that it can in the hole. The nice thing about these extractors is that they're the same width like down the entire shaft, so that the further that you pound it in, the more grip that you're getting on that broken fastener. That's like the biggest pro about this whole setup. And they're super tough. So I'm just going to pound on it, straight with my sledgehammer, and then just slip a wrench over the top of it and pull it out. Obviously, you want to be careful because this is like a make it or break it moment. If the threads are bound up with rust or corrosion, it's going to take a little bit more work or a little bit of heat. That's not the case. Thankfully for us, everything is just sliding right out. So that's pretty much best case scenario. This type of bolt has like a tapered end on it to clean out like the threads. So that's why the end of the bolt isn't just completely flat. But you can see the drill guide made it nice and easy for us to get straight through that bolt. And really, really worked out. So a good job is the best way to end it. So now we're going to do the same with the other bolt and wish for the same amount of luck. So to get the extractor out of the bolt, what I normally do is I just take the whole thing over to the bench grinder and grind up to the side of the extractor just to loosen up the wall. And then take a pin punch and pop it out of the bottom. It works great like that. You just don't want to go too far and, grind up your extractor. So we're just going to get lined up on our second bolt. Same thing, using the drill and the drill guide. And right when I get started, I can feel that the bolt is threaded in a little bit. So it's already loose in the hole, so that's great. Then I just grab the next size up left-hand drill bit, pop it in there, and the whole thing comes right out. So lots of luck on this. It's a pretty good project, pretty straightforward. I'm sure the customer is going to be real happy that those bolts came out easy. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Check the link down in the description for any of the products that you see in here. And we're just going to go through, clean out the rest of the bolt holes with some fresh brake cleaner. Make sure there isn't any type of penetrating oil in there, because that stuff is so slick where it will ruin your torque spec. You'll be cranking down bolts harder than you ever imagined if it has penetrating oil on it. I'm just going through the bolt holes with a thread chaser, making sure that they're spotless. And then we'll be ready to go pop this thing back together, but I'll do that later on. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.